Hello, everyone. Welcome to Screen Junkies News. I'm Alicia Malone, joined by Dan Murrell and Roth Cornett. Roth is probably very jet lagged. She just got back from Brazil Comic-Con talking to Vin Diesel about XXX, the return of Xander Cage. But he also said something very interesting about Guardians of the Galaxy. Have a look at this.
Are we ever going to see Groot as Spider-Man in one movie?
That's an interesting question. I think if it's up to James Gunn, you're going to see a Groot Rocket movie after Infinity Wars. I think that's highly possible. We shall see.
I'm all in on that.
You shall see. I know that
Rocket.
there's somewhere in the universe you're going to see Groot and Hulk battle. I know it. You can write it somewhere. You're going to see that poster, Groot versus Hulk.
Coming out of the comics.
But that's what we're doing. You know that better than anyone. You're the real deal.
Repeat back what I just said.
I am Groot.
No! No, that's the button that will kill everyone. Try again.
I am Groot.
Mm-hmm.
I am Groot.
Uh-huh.
I am Groot.
No!
Baby Groot. He's just adorable.
Baby Groot.
You can't lose.
Before we delve into that, first off, XXX, you got to see 15 minutes of it. What do you think?
Yeah, it was really fun. They brought us to the Comic-Con at Brazil, which was really interesting to see. There was 15 minutes of the film. It looks fun, I gotta tell you. Yeah, we're gonna have plenty of news and some stories on that coming out and what he had to say about that film and the future of Fast and Furious and sort of how they work together or don't. I gotta tell you, it really looks like, you remember how when Fast 5 came out, it kind of like was a resurgence for that franchise? I do think that this can happen for XXX with this film.
Yeah.
But let's talk about some Rocket and Groot.
Rocket and Groot. I could see the person hovering in the background there trying to
I
wrap
think that
you
was
up.
Kevin Feige. I think that was Kevin Feige saying, like, quiet.
It was his PR rep. Because, you know, when he first said that, I did the reporter face when you hear something cool where you just kind of go like, your eyes widen up and you're like, oh, what's that you're saying? So let's dive into this.
Yeah.
First of all, is this a movie you guys would want to see?
I think so. Dan? Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, they're a great pair. Bradley Cooper as Rocket is fantastic, and I think that Vin. People say, oh, all he says is I am Groot, but he brings a lot of presence to that character. Obviously, the CGI animators and James Gunn have a lot to do with crafting that character as well. But yeah, of course. I mean, that would be great. And we're seeing that now a little bit with, teaming characters up. I would imagine eventually they're going to have to start breaking them off if they want to keep putting new energy into all these franchises.
Yeah, and I love the fact that from what we see in the latest trailer is kind of a father-son relationship between Rocket and Groot. And they're such an odd couple, right? Roth, you'd love to see them together. They could go on so many different adventures.
Well, it's funny because I remember interviewing James Gunn for the first Guardians of the Galaxy, and I asked about how, eventually the Guardians will team up with the Avengers. My guess is that it's probably just going to be Star-Lord is going to be repping the Guardians. I don't think that we'll see Rocket and Groot with the Avengers in Infinity War.
Right.
But he talked about how personally attached and invested he is in those two characters.
Yeah.
So, and he said actually in 2014 to comicbook.com, they said, which characters would you like to have a spinoff? And he did say Rocket and Groot were the ones. So I wouldn't be surprised. Vin Diesel is so good at marketing that there's a part of me that's like, is this you saying it's going to happen?
Yeah, I think that he's so good that he would probably just put it out there and then the positive reaction, people will be like, maybe we should do this. That's what he does.
I'm going to pull Lumberg here. I'm going to go ahead and disagree with you there.
All right.
About I think fans will riot if you don't get Rocket and Groot and everybody in with the Avengers when we hit Infinity War. I would be shocked if they didn't bring all of the Guardians in on this.
Drax,
and particularly because they all have such, Gamora and Drax, all of them, particularly because they have such a connection with Thanos. I mean, Thanos is the big bad they're the closest to Thanos of anybody in the MCU. So I would be surprised if they didn't bring him in for Infinity War. But with regard to this, with Vin, I would say, as great as it would be to see a Rocket and Groot movie, Vin says a lot of things.
Yeah.
He does this thing, and it's smart. It's smart.
He's
where
clever.
he tries to just he says the thing so it will become true. I know he wanted to play Black Bolt, and so he's just
Isn't that what we call
I'm going
secret?
to Marvel. Like I remember with Marvel.
Manifesting.
Isn't he manifesting?
No one was talking about Vin Diesel at Marvel, and then all of a sudden it's like, I took a meeting at Marvel, and Marvel's like, what? And then all of a sudden Vin Diesel's part of the cinematic universe. But he also said Furious 7 was going to win Best Picture or get nominated for Best Picture. He's already saying that about this one. He says a lot of things, but you gotta peel away the layers of Vin Diesel and see, is this Vin talking, or is this something true?
Don't know.
Well, I will say this. Like, I agree with you in the sense that fans, I think, love this team. You know, I love Drax and I love Gamora and I love her and Star-Lord together, but that's going to be a lot of characters in Infinity War already. And I know that James Gunn has said two things. Like I was saying, in 2014, he said that he would like to see a Rocket and Groot movie. He has said that he loves these characters to me, and he has said emphatically, you are not going to see Hulk be a part of the Guardians. He has emphatically wanted to keep them separate from the Avengers. So there's a part of me that feels like if he could preserve a couple of those characters just for his world, he would do it. And to me, Rocket and Groot are the breakout characters. As much as we love the whole team, and I love Star-Lord, Rocket and Groot, especially look at this latest trailer, like they are the breakouts of that trailer.
Because that was the thing with the first one. I remember being skeptical and being like, how are they going to do a raccoon in a tree and make it work? And it's just so adorable, even though, you know, Rocket doesn't want to be adorable. And now you've got Groot being like the baby Groot. And now they can grow from here, pun intended. So if they were to interact with the Avengers, is there anyone in particular that you would love to see one or both of these characters be with?
I mean, a Rocket Stark Rocket.
That'd be so
I mean,
fun.
you know, just the meeting of the minds.
Snark off.
A snark off, if you will, would be great. But yeah, I know there's always this talk of like, and you mentioned the Planet Hulk thing, and I think part of James Gunn's frustration with Planet Hulk was Guardians came out, and immediately people were saying like, "Oh, you're in outer space. Where's Hulk? Is Hulk gonna be? I heard Hulk was gonna be." And I could see why he got frustrated. I mean, he used some very R-rated language to say like, "F no, this is not happening." I think part of it was that fans were writing the sequel for him, and he had to get out in front of it and say, "No, stop it with this, because you're right. You're saying what you want, and this is not going to be my movie." So I get why he would so emphatically say like, "We're not crossing over with the Avengers. Part 2 is not going to be with the Avengers." I think partly because he wanted to set the fan expectation very clearly that the sequel to Guardians of the Galaxy was going to be the sequel to Guardians of the Galaxy.
I also wouldn't mind seeing Tony try and hit on Gamora, because I just like to see her reaction and her like just sort of like,
you wouldn't put up with it.
It's hard enough for Star-Lord to do that, so I wouldn't mind seeing that. I think that it would be cool to see a Hulk Groot fight, because they're both very powerful but very, very different, you know.
And even Baby Groot you see in the trailer like has some fighting skills, and in the comics Groot and Hulk did actually.
There is an issue where they did have a battle, but then they sort of did. Then it turned out that it was not actually. It was a clone of Groot, but whatever. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I mean, like there is, but there's a lot of also fanfic of them fighting. I think it's something that a lot of fans would like to see happen, and so. I don't
Hard
know.
to say, but we would love to see it happen if it does happen. Anything more with Groot and Rocket, particularly together, I'd say is what I would love to see.
You would love to see, because you're not even like...
No, I'm not even like a super fan when it comes to these comics or the comic book movies, but I really like those characters together, because it is the tried and true thing we see in movies since, forever, the odd couple together.
Yeah.
And it works.
I think it would be a fun way to subvert it and not have to do a straight up, because again, I think Infinity War is going to change a lot about the MCU, because that is the end of a lot of contracts. That's the end of a lot of negotiation. I know it's the end of Robert Downey Jr.'s contract, and Chris Evans is coming up. Like the big Phase 1 heroes I think they're going to close the book on some of it. I don't know how, but I think this is really going to be turning the page for Marvel with the end of Infinity War. This is what they've been building up to since the very beginning. So they're going to have to reinvent themselves.
Yeah.
And I think that may be one way to do it, is to kind of break these things apart and start spinning off things and saying, like, let's take these two characters, Rocket and Groot, by the way, fairly easy commitment for Bradley Cooper and Vin Diesel, who, while they are both busy, would just be doing voice work for that. Not to say that would be an easy movie to make, but not as difficult as, say, getting all of those stars back for a third movie. I think I would like to see it. I think maybe Vin might have let it slip a little bit here. I think maybe James Gunn or somebody might have said something about a spin-off movie, it seemed to me. it's interesting to me. I'd like to see it, particularly because that's a pretty good indication, I think, of what Marvel's going to do after their team movies, after their teams kind of break apart after Infinity War.
Yeah, I think what would be interesting about it, besides that, I also like you guys. First of all, I love Guardians. Like, I love that movie so unabashedly. It speaks to the little girl in me that loved space and weird aliens, you know? And I really, my whole heart loves that movie. So I'm really excited about the sequel. I would love to see Rocket and Groot have a movie. I don't know that Groot's going to grow all the way up by the end of this movie, or if he's going to stay a baby and maybe hit teen years. And if it's more Rocket raising Groot, that's kind of fun. But to your point, Dan, what's interesting too is the idea that they've been doing solo movies and then slowly building these bigger and bigger and bigger teams. And then instead to go back from that and do some more individual stories would be kind of an interesting way for them to go for a third Guardians movie.
Because it seems like each movie is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. How big can you go? How much bigger before it loses its impact? Maybe you can go back to being smaller, focused characters, and then that could be some different way to go.
That was one of the refreshing things about Ant-Man was in a series of world-building movies, Marvel gave us this kind of crime caper that while introducing characters that played into a larger world, it was just its own thing.
Yeah, you could do a buddy road movie with Groot and Rocket, I think.
Absolutely do that, and I think that would be great. I think that would be really fun.
And you know what? I celebrate the fact that Vin Diesel says what he wants until
I
he
know, I was
gets it,
gonna
because
say.
we should all be more like that. As a matter of fact, as it turns out, I'm going to also be in the Rocket and Groot movie, breaking it right here.
Just manifesting the stuff. Well, being in the room with him, you know, you could see the cheeky look in his eye. What did you feel from him when he was talking about this? Did it seem genuine?
I think it was genuine. I think that probably he and James Gunn have talked about that, whether Kevin Feige and Marvel are in on that and agreed, I don't know. But I think that he and James Gunn have probably discussed that. You know, you're right in the sense that you never know with these things, but I certainly think it's a strong possibility, especially after people have reacted the way they have to the Groot in this trailer.
Awesome. Well, so much more to come from Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and also Triple X, the return of Xander Cage. I always forget if it's return or rise or what, but I'm looking forward to that one. Dan Murrell and Roth Cornett, thank you so much for joining me. And if you want more Screen Junkies news goodness, you just have to go over here and do some clicking. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. You can also follow us on Twitter at SJ News. We'll see you soon. Bye.